And my computer says 6:15. Isn't that weird?
Mine says 5:57.
Yeah.
That is
I have
the way
3 minutes to go.
computer does that.
I don't know, but it's about to drive me crazy because I.
Use my password.
Maybe it's this section.
This one is it,
Jay,
mine is Renee.Scott.
Yeah, I think.
The paper looks so serious.
Okay, welcome everyone to our Unified School District number 409, Monday, April 12th, regular board meeting. We're happy to have you all here tonight. I'd like to open up with a motion for the ordering and approval of tonight's agenda as presented.
I so move.
Thank you, Diane.
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. And we're off. Good deal. Tonight, first, our auditor is not here, is he?
Yes,
Yes,
He is here. Okay. So first up tonight is our district audit report.
Do we have to approve the agenda? Or did we?
We just did.
just did that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I should say this is Jim Long. Sorry I didn't introduce you, Mr. Long.
Got it.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Just call you in time for supper, right?
Hey, Diane, how do I make that bigger?
Yes.
Yeah, right down here. Just pull it.
Oh, okay, cool.
And if you
Welcome.
want it bigger,
Thank you.
No, that's great.
okay, can you get this?
My name is Jim Long. I'm with Carlin and Long CPA, and went through the financial information, and this is the audit for the district for June 30 of last year. So if you take a look at page, there's a report inside there, about 4 pages in. Back in the day, it was 1 page long, now it's 3. Much in here, it says that you have some responsibilities, I have some responsibilities. Opinion on GAAP basis, because these financial statements are in compliance with KMAG, which is what Department of Ed is looking for. Not quite a financial statement, but almost a financial statement. I'll show you that in a second. If you look at page 4, the landscape. It basically has all the funds down the left-hand side. Beginning balances, receipts coming in, expenses going out. Ending balances. Top line is important. Basically, that's to start at 0 and end at 0. and the budget's all been spent, so the state's not gonna ask for any money back. For instance, third line down, paid for all at risk. Beginning and ending is 245. Voc Ed, or about halfway down, 77 each place. Basically controlling the transfers, so that there's always a question of how much do you need going into the next year. And so pretty, district is consistent with beginning balances being the same as prior balances. If you look at the total down there at the bottom, the next few lines up from that, that's the bond and interest fund. Even though you have a big number down at the bottom, bond and interest money can only be used for bond and interest. So, kind of the way it works. And that's a financial statement in accordance with KMAG. There's no income statement or cash flow statement or those kinds of things. The next several pages are notes to the financial statements, the narrative description of policies and procedures. Take a look at page 11, note 6. As far as compliance with stewardship, we noted no violations of Kansas statutes. On page 13, money goes into the general fund, gets moved to other funds as far as expenditures go. You can see how much the special ed took from the general fund and then the supplemental general as well. And we give you an idea of how much money goes to those places. Page 14, as far as the debt goes, looks like it's marching along. Sort of right there in the middle is maturity as a statement of the debt for the bonded indebtedness. Section below there is the principal and interest for the 5-year period, or each year, and then the 5-year period after that. All kinds of fun stuff.
So fun.
So if you take a look at page 15 real quick. Yeah. This is one that I think I mentioned before. KMAG likes this one as well. It basically says how much was the budget. Range adjustments, what were the expenditures, second column. On the far right hand side, if it's 0 or negative, that means you've underspent your budget. And the important ones there too, the general and the supplemental general, those either need to be spent or transfers so that nothing's left over. The next several pages are each fund as far as budget and actual. Page 16 is the general fund. Of course, down there at the bottom it says starts with 0, ends with 0, type of thing. Budget's 0. But again, you kind of flip whether the accounts are going up or down. If you look at page 33, some funds are not budgeted, just like that extra fund or the contingency reserve. Each column is a separate fund. Beginning balance is third number down from the bottom. In revenues are up top, expenditures are in the middle. Ending balance is on the bottom. So Title I over there, it zeroes out. That's a good thing. I hate to have extra cash in there in those federal funds. Something new and exciting, page 34 on the right-hand side is that close money. nothing like getting that and then the state deciding what to tell you what to do with it.
Yeah.
So the last two pages, district activity funds on page 35. Again, down the left-hand side are various activities. And to give you an idea of how much comes in and out of those. And the balance on the right-hand side. You have your multiple pages of each one. On page 37, agency funds goes for other groups. And those are held at the school. So you take a look at those as well. Couple more pages, there's a couple of reports for federal compliance stuff. If you look at page 43, just like this. This is a schedule of federal assistance. So this is the amount of money that passed through the state to you guys as federal money. You can see sort of in the middle there is the food service program. Top is the special ed, Title I's up there too, but special ed's up there. That's how much federal funds come into the district. One of the exciting to get done, that's about it.
Okay.
Was very excited.
Have some challenges all around to get stuff done and wrapped up.
Yeah.
Patient.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call.
Okay. Thank you
the
for your
service. Thank
hard
you.
work on that, Lori and Renee. Thank you for your awesome leadership on our budgets.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody
Thanks,
have
Jim.
questions? Okay, thank you so much. Next is our Atchison High School building report with Lacey Warren, principal, and Lindsay, vice principal. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
It might come on. I did. All right, so we're just going to give you some highlights that have been going on kind of at the high school this year. You can put the main screen. We're going to start with our Principals Advisory Council, so ACT data, our JAG updates, some discipline updates, individual plans of study, and achievements that we have. And so we have invited our Principals Advisory Council to actually talk to you about what they have been doing so far. So if you guys, a few of them are here, so if you guys want to come on up. And they will kind of tell you about what this committee is and what they're doing.
Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you.
Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Martavius Collins, and I'm a sophomore at Atchison High School. And basically, we're just here today to just give you guys an update and tell you guys about what the Principal Advisory Council is. And I'm going to start off by kind of explaining to you guys what a typical meeting of ours would look like. We have 12 people, freshmen through seniors, who attend our meetings, and we discuss all types of things, you know, from the student safety to handbook revisions, on kind of things that we'd like to see change in our school for future years, and kind of try to build a relationship between the staffs and the students, you know, kind of be that border that we can get things across easily. And some of our goals for the next couple of weeks is, I know we're going to have a student-led assembly about safety in the parking lot, you know, kind of driving instructions. You know, we always do that. And typical bathroom etiquette, you know, try to keep the bathrooms as sanitary as we can. And wearing masks properly, and just going over basic school policies.
Very good.
Basically, one of our goals is to try to hold people responsible, you know, between people's identity and stuff, and respecting other people's views. You know, from students to teachers, we all just kind of discuss that, and yeah.
Hello, my name The PAC's goal is to be a student and principal partnership where we can advocate for what we want to see in the school. Classroom counselor introduce revisions in the student handbook to make it more culturally sensitive and sensible. We talked about what we would like to see in school lunches and planned a future meeting with Ms. Dahl, the food service director. As we continue, our goals are to survey peers for future ideas and to help plan and participate in professional development for teachers. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. Are there any questions you would like to ask about the PAC?
I have a question, actually two. Is this the first year for the PAC, and how were you selected to serve on this committee?
Yes, this is our first year doing this, actually our first semester. And at the end of last semester, I think Ms. Warren had sent out a Google Doc, or an email to everybody actually, asking people to apply. And then I think she interviewed some students, and she sent an email letting us know who we were on.
Good. Well, thank you for serving.
Yes.
And Max is here to represent as well.
Very good. Thank you, Max. Thank you. Well, thank you for the leadership
Thank
you're
you
showing.
very
Thank
much.
you for having
Yes,
us.
very lovely.
So the Principals Advisory Council was something that I've started in some previous districts, and I wanted to continue that here. But I like to take a semester to kind of get that under my belt, just to get a feel for the building, and for students to get a feel for me before we really go. And so at the end of this year, students will be able to reapply, or other students will be able to apply. Initially, you like to keep it, depending on your student body, between 12 and 20 students. And so we'll kind of look at that. We had 40 students that applied this year. And of those, 15 were chosen, but only 12 have been active members. There was an interview process just for clarity purposes through those Google Docs with that. So we tried to get a good collection of students, but they've been really great at just expressing concerns and ideas, and they really truly are advocating for the betterment of Ashland High School. So it's great to have that student perspective of things. So, all right, we're going to move on to our ACT data. So this is the data from our graduating seniors of the class of 2020. So they're already gone. And I did want to just make a note that we had 70 students take the ACT test of that graduating class, which is up, obviously, 15 students from 2019. Now, with that data, when you have more students take it, and we're going to get into this with kind of IPS, you will see that our scores did drop in the areas of English and mathematics. And you can attribute that to a few different things. You can attribute that to, are we having the students take the right test? Are all of these students college bound, or should some of them take the work keys? And kind of looking at that. We will be able to kind of really see, right now, we have nowhere to go but up, right? And so I wanted to just be transparent with you and what our data looks like right now. We did get our scores back from we're getting the preliminary scores back from the juniors that have taken it this year. Our student assessment data, it's not good. I'm going to be really honest, it's pretty low. But we are looking at that and figuring out how can we make those changes then to work on improving those scores of where they need to go. And to just give you kind of a JAG update, so basically our JAG program is funded through the grant, and the concepts are basically to help students achieve their goal outside of the classroom, to prepare them for college, or to prepare them for that workforce. And so currently we have 34, I believe, students in JAG, and that's with Central and Atchison High School. Of those seniors from the JAG program, we currently have a 100% graduation rate, or those that are on track to graduate with that program. I know it's been a little different this year with COVID, so they haven't been able to go on all of those visits that they wanted to do. However, they've been doing them virtually. We actually had 2 students compete in their virtual event, and they took 4th place out of 12
Great.
on, I believe it was a community relations piece. And so that was really exciting. Lucas was pretty happy for that. And these were 2 students that were into the program first time this year. It was a hospitality and entertainment, I think, program with that. So that's just kind of that for our JAG update. We're going to get into our discipline data, and I wanted to show you the trend over 4 years. It's really small, sorry, we can't make it any larger, but that first year, you can kind of see where everything has kind of swung. And if you think about last year, we were out of school from, spring break on, and looking at the score. This is our current data as of last Thursday. And so you can see how much lower our discipline has been this year. I'm going to have you go ahead and show you. And this is just to kind of show you the monthly breakdown of where we are and then our yearly incidences. And so basically that bottom picture is kind of that tier model. The green is obviously like those one student, one incident sort of thing, and then the multiple incidences towards the bottom. And you can kind of look at that monthly breakdown too, of when our highest disciplines occur by month. So, yep. February, into February, March is kind of those times. People are ready for spring break.
Right.
We get those.
The
So,
weather.
a couple of things that we want to kind of think about when we look at our discipline data. Yes, it looks really good compared to what it has been in the past. I really truly believe that our discipline has been way down. I'm going to click the next slide, Lindsay. Sorry. I think that we have done and implemented some things, luckily with COVID, but things that we're definitely going to sustain to make sure that our discipline data. Those include those morning check-ins. So the temperatures and the greeting at the door, I think, is a huge plus for kids. We're sending kids to their first hour immediately. They're not congregating in the hallways. They're able to go to their classrooms. They have that. Plus, they're getting greeted by teachers first thing in the morning, getting a welcoming face. Next, we're implementing our SEL and our IPS, so our social emotional data you'll see in just a minute, and then our IPS program to really give the students the ability to have that voice and to have their opinions heard. And then finally, we are just being more visible in the hallways. Teachers, myself, both assistants, and our new SRO, he is out in the hallways every passing period. He just sweeps the hallways during class time. So just that visibility and creating those relationships with students, I really think has helped reduce our discipline data this year. We wanted to give you the IPS update. So we have had our senior, junior, and freshman day of service. I don't have any updated pictures for you from Friday, but it was fantastic. We got so many compliments from community members that were just out and watched us. We got the emails. We had two groups that cleaned up Reasoner Park, and by the time they got back to school, they had some emails from neighbors around that area just thanking them for those cleanups. And I will tell you, I picked up 12 trash bags in the back of my car from that park, just from that area and those neighborhoods.
Wow.
So they just did a fantastic job. Another area that we cleaned up, we did LFM, we did the downtown area, we did Jackson Park, Warnock Lake,
Wow.
and then Forest of Friendship. And so they really just did such a great job of learning what that was. And so what now happens is they were reflecting on that today. And what does community service mean? What does it mean to give back? How will you continue to sustain that community service as you move on? So it was really kind of fun with that. So into that IPS is our social emotional curriculum. And what we do is we give some surveys to our students. We gave them a fall survey, a winter survey, and then we'll give them just a final spring survey towards the end. And I wanted to show you specifically our winter data, just because when we gave it at the beginning, it was all in the mix at the beginning of the year, COVID, just trying to figure out those expectations. And so we didn't really have a chance to dissect what that data looked like, and we didn't have a chance for students to really kind of understand what that was coming from. And so one of our lowest points that we noticed from students was that they scored themselves really low in self-efficacy. They scored themselves at a 32%. So we wanted to show you kind of what the national average looks like on this. You might want to scroll down. Nope, that's right. This is with all schools. So if we want to look at just high school, you'll notice that in self-efficacy, a lot of high school students rate themselves pretty low. And so, but still looking at where that curve is, we fall way below that. And so our focus for our professional development days with our staff when we had those 2 days in March, was working on how do we fix this? What do we do? What can we do to help students have that self-efficacy piece? And so Lindsay's just going to kind of show you some of these little breakdowns if you want to talk more about the data piece.
And it's also, we can all also share some of this with you if you really want to know some of the questions, but it'll give you some specific questions, and then the breakdown of the data from each question asked. It's pretty, this is our new panorama program this year at the high school. We haven't had it before, so.
Lindsay, what grade levels take this?
All 9 through 12.
All of them.
All
So you'll be able
grade
to
levels.
watch from year to year
Yep.
then too.
Yep, and it's take it 3 times, so we'll take it at the end of the year too. To
Yep.
look at progress.
To 3 dots. There you go. Okay. So the other program that we use kind of within that IPS is our Zello program. And this, it was logged in, I thought. That's right. So our Zello program is kind of taking place of that career cruising. It does the career interest. It sets you up with colleges that match your career that you want to go into. Just kidding. Sorry.
So if you remember Career Cruising from a few years ago, this actually replaced Career Cruising.
Okay.
And it's more in depth as well. It offers more for our kids. This is where they can put their digital portfolio. Everything that they do are our checklists for each grade level by the end. Everything can be uploaded into this. It then is transferable with them each year. So through Zello, we will be able to enroll students because it ties directly to PowerSchool, and then we'll be able to just keep track of everything in there. So one thing we wanted to show you is that the learning styles of our students. So we think about COVID and what have we had kids do? We had them learn through online school for, a full quarter. And then we've kind of essentially said to our teachers, we're going to be, the best online teachers that we can be and adapt that to the students in our classroom. So when we look at this, the learning styles of our students and that breakdown of their top 5 learning styles, obviously we had a majority of our kids that are tactile learners. So what we then did with this data on our professional development day was take this back to the teachers and say, okay, here's our social emotional data. We don't our self-efficacy piece is really low. Our students are tactile learners. What do? How do we make what we're doing at Atchison High School really fit to what they're needing, right? And how do we meet the needs of those kids? And so our problem was student self-efficacy was our lowest. Most students were below that 50% mark. So how do we assist those kids in areas through IPS and SEL? Our teachers created the best solutions that they went out and they implemented things. It's a link to what they created. We can show it or we don't have to. They were able to collaborate together and create lessons and ideas that they could implement that next day. But then how are we going to implement this next year? How can we now take what we know, what our kids really need, and be able to implement that? And so we have already kind of transitioned with some of our IPS stuff during seminar and what we're doing with those kids. Like the Principals Advisory Committee coming up with the assembly. Our kids need that. We're seeing the need, and we're now putting it into action of how we can help them.
So one of the super simplest things that came out of this discussion was moving our social emotional day from Monday to Tuesday.
Yep.
Which we thought coming back from a weekend would be great, but the teachers were saying, well, it gives the teachers a little bit of time to plan, to prepare, and then it gives the kids a little bit of time to do their grade check. So I go, that makes so much sense. So we're just going to flip-flop days, things like that to kind of help the kids more.
So, and then I just wanted to finish with some amazing accomplishments some of our students. So these are all of our seniors that earned the Kansas Scholars Curriculum Completers. And so because it was a virtual event, we got to hand out the medals to them and their certificates, and it was just really cool. So we did that. And then we had been doing, just if you were following kind of those COVID exams, like the setting, going the right way in the hallways, wearing your mask correctly, we were just catching kids doing the good things, and we were just handing out different things. We do the 10 at 10, which we need to do tomorrow. So at 10 o'clock on the 10th day of the month, we do a random question. And then the first seminar class that gets the answer gets to pick a kid on their roster, and they get a $5 gift card, and the teacher gets a gift card of their choice as well. So just little fun things. And then our video production crew also, just wanted to highlight them, got to broadcast the NAIA tournament again this year.
That's great.
And just did a phenomenal job, as they do with everything that they broadcast and help with digital media with us. So,
Great.
And we're here.
Awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Great.
Go ahead, Ms. Dr. John.
So, thanks for your report, and I think it's great, going back to your ACT data, that you've got up to 70 kids taking the ACT. And I'm going to comment publicly that while you did decline a bit in some of those areas, considering the number of kids you have taking the test, I doubt that it's statistically significant, if significant. So I want to compliment your crew on that. I will state again publicly that we are, I think, providing the ACT free of charge now.
Yes,
Is that correct?
we are.
So what is the barrier? I want you to help me understand, what is the barrier to some of these other kids? You probably have 30 to 35 kids that didn't take it. Is it just allotting the time, helping them process, or they just don't have a desire to take it?
So, I think there are many different factors here that we have to look at. So, and that's where IPS really comes in. What is truly going to be, what do the kids want to do after high school? Are they going to tech school?
Oh, okay.
If we know they're going to tech school, we aren't going to make them take the ACT.
Okay.
Because they aren't going to need it. If they're going to a 2-year school, we do encourage them to,
Right.
we have them take it. But we also have kids that are going straight to the workforce, that are never going to go to college. And that's truly finding those IPSs and what is their plan of study. What truly is that? And I know this is really our first year of diving into that, but eventually it will start we will start finding that niche of where kids fall and where they fit, and getting them into those proper placements. I think it's good to have all of those scores. It's just another data point for us. So having the most kids take it that they can, but some kids will absolutely refuse if they know they're not going to college.
Sure.
They won't take it.
So if you look at the numbers between the Brook Keys test, because that's also free, so we can give Brook Keys and ACT.
Yep.
Last year, we had about, I would say 85 to 90% of our kids take it. So there was only about 10 kids out of the 100, let's just say, I don't know how many actually we had last year, but that didn't take it, and some of it was because they were absent on the day we took it, things like that. Couple wanted to go to the military, and they were already taking the ASVAB to get into the military, so our numbers were a little bit better than the 35 because of the work test. But
And then my second question is on your discipline update. I appreciate what you presented to us is pretty compelling. Of the 3 changes outlined, have your teachers and your other staff embraced this pretty consistently and uniformly, would you say?
I would think so. I think that they have. They know what that expectation is that we want, and that we reiterate that as well. You can tell when you get to a certain point in the year, people start to get a little bit more nitpicky, which is when kind of either student behaviors, people get tired, they need a break, that sort of thing. That's when those behaviors start to, I don't know, nice way to say this.
Diminish.
Just start escalate, yeah.
Or escalate.
And so the tension gets a little high between the teachers and students, and so you see that rise. But then just kind of having that debrief also of, hey, this is our expectation, this is what we want out of teachers, this is what we want out of students, I think kind of brings them kind of back to that.
And so, the last question I have then, thank you,
You're
is the
okay.
SRO, how's the SRO, is that a factor in this discipline data or not?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think just having adults visible is the most important thing in building relationships. I will say, he has stepped in this semester and has built fantastic relationships with our students and our staff. He is, like I said, he's walking the halls, and I think just having that piece helps. We do bathroom rounds once a week. And so, just making sure that things are going like they should in the right places.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's a really enjoyable report, thank you.
Very nice. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your hard work.
That was really well done.
Any public comments? Okay, we're gonna,
A couple of people come in late, so
Okay. Anyone for public comments? Okay. Okay, so we are going to move right along, and if I could have a motion for the approval of tonight's consent agenda as presented, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Sean. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brandy. Any discussion on any of those? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Our first action item tonight, and there are several, is to reaffirm and revise the board policies. This is a second reading from IDAE through IHEA, and I'll let Nicole speak because it has to do a lot with special education, student privacy, et cetera.
Yep, and again, these were just reaffirmed policies, so no changes were made. Just our normal process of going through and checking on those.
Madam President, I move for reaffirmation of policies ADAE through IHEA, if I pronounce that correctly,
Yes.
as presented tonight.
Thank you, Dr. John. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion on any of those? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Just a moment ago, we heard from Jim Long on our district audit report, and we need to have an approval for the district audit report, and would we accept that?
That would be my
Okay.
recommendation as well as Lori's. I did want to make a couple of comments on
Sure.
that. One is, if you noticed on that activity page where it talked a little bit about gate and such, we didn't have that this fall, so that could look quite different next year. So I just want to, we didn't allow spectators for a large number or limited spectators. So we're going to take a hit in that area in terms of income next year. And then I also just wanted to reiterate our auditor's point of, yes, we get federal funding for special education and state funding, but not enough. We take a lot of that out of our own budget. And so that's something very important to note because the needs are getting greater, and I just want you all to be aware of that. Lori, am I missing anything there?
All right. I move to accept the district audit as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Sally. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next is our summer maintenance capital outlay and technology plan, and I think Lori is going to visit with us. Thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you. I haven't changed anything much from last time after we talked. I did want to go to the second page about the capital outlay plan. And on the second year, I believe I sent out a board memo about the tuck pointing that needed to be done at the elementary and middle school for this summer. Does everybody remember seeing that?
Yes.
It's about $155,000 to do it both. I don't think it'd be beneficial to wait at this point. It's only getting worse, and we would like to go ahead and get that done as soon as possible. So I did add that to this year's proposal
Okay.
for capital outlay. That's the biggest change that I did. So that's the only really thing that I did on this page. So that reduces our cash balance by $155,000 projected. But again, the longer we wait, the worse it's going to get, and we
Right.
have leaks right now. So we really need to get that addressed. On the next page, the capital outlay miscellaneous projects. I updated this to take off central school items on here, as that was just a discussion point. So I wanted to just see what everything else would look like, and I added roofs on here, just to put in a big placement on here for you to see how much roofs will be to replace at some point.
Right.
Yes, sir.
May I ask you a question, Madam Chair?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Yes.
Madam President. So Lori, on the capital outlay projects, are those presented in order of priority or just alphabetically, or, doesn't look like alphabetically, but is there any prioritization to that, or
No.
it's just, here they are, and,
These are already prioritized.
yeah,
So if you needed to reduce something, or we decided not to spend that much money, that's when we'd go back and look and see
Take off.
what we could do.
okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have questions, concerns? Okay. That's all I have. Nothing else has changed from last time I spoke to you.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions. Donna's here as well if we have any technology questions, and Jay is here also.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Nope, good.
I don't see any.
All right.
I did not get I need a motion
I'll
to
you
accept.
did.
make a motion to approve the summer maintenance capital outlay technology plan as presented.
Thank you, Diane. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. You too. It was unanimous, so we'll have a, not seeing any discussion, since we've already asked for that. Everyone in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you again for all your hard work, you and Jay and everyone else involved. Next on the agenda is for us to approve the state learning program application, and that's formally the 4-year-old at risk. And I think, is Lisa Pierce gonna?
So it's our one section of AM and PM for at-risk, because we have 2 special ed preschool, one thing, so it's gives us 20 spots in the AM and 20 spots in the PM. It's what the same program we've had for past my year of being here. So.
Yeah, lovely. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve that state learning program application.
Let's see, I move to approve the state learning program application for the school year 2021, 2022.
Yes, 21, 22, yes. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion on that? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next is to approve the request for the proposal of Atchison High School teacher and student parking lot renovations and resealing, as we have here. Does anybody have any questions or anything for that? We've been talking about that a couple times. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for that, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the request for proposal RFP Atchison High School teacher and student parking lot renovations and resealing.
Thank you, Stephanie. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sally. Any discussion? Seeing none, raise your right hand, please. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next on our action item is to approve the request for the proposal, the RPF, for the security camera updates. Do you want to speak about that?
You want to, Donna?
Donna?
For the elementary school, we'll be changing out the analog cameras with digital.
Mhm.
We did the same thing with last summer. The elementary's so big, it's every summer.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Dr. John?
Will all our cameras be consistent, uniform now in the current technology that throughout the district?
That is correct.
Yes, once we finish the elementary, yes.
Right, so this is the last piece of this?
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. May I have a motion for that, please?
A motion to approve the request for proposal RFP for security camera upgrades.
Yes. May I have a second, please? Thank you, Brandy.
Second.
Thank you, Diane. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next on our action items is the legislature passed the SB 40, giving the Board of Education ultimate decisions about mask and COVID concerning restrictions and requirements. I was going to let Dr. Renee speak a little bit about that.
Sure. Luckily, our district addressed the issue of school safety related to COVID and approved that in our Navigating Change USD 409 way back in the fall. And I've not heard input as to make any changes to that document, so it stays in place until the end of the school year. With that said, SB 40 does allow people the right to grieve, have a grievance against any of that. Our staff already has procedures in place. We have a memorandum of understanding, and we have committee of 3 A&A members and 3 district office administration and board reps. So if the staff wants to propose any changes, they would go to that committee. But SB 40 in this case would give parents that right to propose a grievance against. SB 40 does make it with a very quick turnaround. So if a parent wanted to grieve any of our restrictions, we would have to have that hearing within 72 hours. So through KSB's recommendation, we'd like to pass this resolution that in the event that something like that would happen, we would have a hearing officer. So we wouldn't have to call the board together in 72
Right.
hours. That hearing officer would hear it in 72 hours, give the recommendation to the board, and then the board would have 7 days, I believe, to act on that. So I'm just proposing that we put this resolution in place so that way we're not having board meetings every 72 hours from now till the end of May.
Right.
My hope truly is to hang on till the end of May. We've got a great group of seniors that have been through a lot over the last year with COVID. We know that masks have been effective in our schools, as have all of the mitigation strategies, and we just want to stay the course until the end of this school year, and then hopefully be done with this. That's our hope. But I haven't had any pushback so far from parents regarding SB 40. I just want to be prepared in the event of.
And I would entertain a motion, but we do need to read the resolution 21-05 as presented in our packet.
You need a reader?
Yep.
Yes.
You want it, John, or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Resolution to appoint SB 40 hearing officers. Whereas the Board of Education of Unified School District 409, Atchison County, Kansas, is authorized by SB 40 2021 Kansas Legislature, 2021 regular session, Kansas 2021, hereafter referred to as SB 40, to hold public hearings at the request of an employee, student, or parent or guardian of a student aggrieved by an action taken, order issued, or policy adopted by the Board of Education pursuant to SB 40, new section 1A1, or an action of an employee of a school district violating any such action, order, or policy. And whereas the Board of Education of Unified School District 409, Atchison County, Kansas, in order to expeditiously conduct a hearing within 72-hour timeline prescribed by law to allow the person to contest the matter, deems it necessary to appoint a hearing officer to hear such matters on behalf of the board. And whereas the Board of Education, Unified School District 409, Atchison County, Kansas, desires to appoint a hearing officer to hear SB 40 matters. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the superintendent or superintendent designee will appoint a hearing officer to hear SB 40 matters on behalf of the board for the 2020-2021 school year, adopted by the Board of Education of Unified School District Number 409, Atchison County, Kansas, the 12th day of April, 2021.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next is our mascot action. And as you all know, a special Board of Education meeting was held on March 4th, 2021. The special meeting provided an overview of the work previously completed by the district's mascot committee that was convened in December of 2016 and included an educational presentation on Native Americans and mascot imagery. The meeting also gave patrons the opportunity for public input regarding the mascots. The board continued their decision around the AHS and AMS mascot at their March 8th, 2021 regular meeting. Patrons also were provided public input at the regular meeting regarding the mascots. And at this time, I would like to entertain a motion or discussion.
I move that we change the Red Men and Braves mascot.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion?
Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I was prepared to read an editorial that I had written to the Atchison Daily Globe. I think a lot have seen that, and basically I would just be reiterating what we all had learned and experienced through this process when the whole board was part of the discussion through education and through the various presentations that we've seen. But I would like to make a few statements in this prepared statement that I had written. A few months ago, when the mascot was brought up again and then voted unanimously to revisit it, I was not surprised. A lot had transpired in regard to race relations in this country from 2018 to now, which was a huge wake-up call to many. Since 2018 and the 5-2 vote, the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians agreed to move away from Native American mascots and imagery, along with many high schools locally and in other states. During this whole process, we've seen a number of people come forward to speak, which is very difficult to do. And I would like to thank those that have provided feedback, that shown up to speak in person, and had written emails to address the board. For me, the mascot issue is a matter of perspective. Taking the time to hear and learn from what one's perspective is that is different than our own. Caring about and listening to the perspective of others, and in this case, a perspective that affects a people's actual culture. The night we voted in November 2018, I heard that people do not want to change. People do not want this. And those that I have spoken with want to keep it. As a minority, I understand why the vote went the way that it did that night. But in my opinion, the justifications did not make it right. Dr. Joff Wolf, in his presentation to the board a couple months ago, quoted Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He stated, "A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." As history has shown us, there's been times when boards and decision makers have not followed the masses. They've been molders of consensus. I do believe now is one of those times. That night, when Dr. Wolf spoke, I could not help to think about when our school board in the early 50s voted unanimously to integrate our schools, and then when that happened on a national level as well. I also thought of when women gained the right to vote and when civil rights legislation was passed, and also when unjust laws that benefited the majority and punished others were changed. It wasn't easy for those board and decision makers then, but it was necessary for the society to move forward. To me, the issue is not one side versus another side, but a move forward for what's best for the kids in our community and our community as a whole. I will now leave you with a few questions posed to us board members from a local Native American Student Association that is comprised of members that belong to 20+ tribes. Question 1, what ideas are represented when a person hears the name Red Men? How can one say a mascot, Red Men, is meant to be non-derogatory? One person does not get to choose if something is hurtful to another. Do current students who belong in the district know what their mascot truly represents? The culture you think you are representing and who is qualified, the culture you think you are representing, who is qualified to acknowledge that Native American culture and tradition are being represented appropriately? If Red Men is derived from Reed's Men, why not look back into taking that name? Why not choose a different image? And those questions were posed from this group I've had contact with throughout the whole mascot process. And I thank them for those questions.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Diane?
I'd like to just share lots of thoughts of as my rationale for the mascot change. The topic of Native American imagery used as a school team mascots has been in the news frequently. I followed the stories for several years and appreciated the in-depth review of this district's topic throughout 2017 and 2018. The topic has not gone away and has surfaced nationally and locally repeatedly since USD 409 School Board voted to retain the mascot in the fall of 2018. There has been a surge of interest as numerous schools at all levels and national teams across the country have moved away from mascots depicting any sort of multinational group of people. I respect and understand how proud the alumni are of their history with Atchison High School. Alumni, your history is your history, and there is no desire to erase it. It is part of this district's story and will continue to be shared in families and our archives for years to come. Our district's mission statement reads, "The Atchison Public School District's mission shall be to identify and remove all barriers to promote equal opportunities for success by all students." District policies, specifically the non-discrimination statement and the racial and disability harassment policy, certainly come into question when we discuss the context of the Redmond name, logo, and imagery, regardless of what these have meant to all of us in the past. Annual diversity training has taken place in this very room for more than a decade, with more than 150 staff and community members trained during that time. Although it is difficult, we must know that we live in an ever-changing world. Paddling students for misbehaviors were seen as acceptable in schools until the 1980s. Then we listened to the experts, and we stopped that practice. Once we knew, we did better. We structure our schools based on research. We design our methodology of teaching reading and math based on research. We use the Second Step program in our schools to guide our children to be good citizens who make good choices, because this is a research-based program. We're implementing so many programs through the Link Grant because they are research-based programs and improve student learning. Now we must look at what the research says regarding Native American imagery as a mascot. One of our parents in our district is a licensed clinical social worker, and she shared professional research from her professional organization. The research included a review of 61 studies. The conclusion stated, given the documented educational inequities for Native Americans in comparison to U.S. averages, it is crucial that educational institutions take immediate actions to facilitate the success of Native American students. Although most people in the United States do not perceive Native American mascots as problematic, all of the academic studies undertaken to study the psychosocial effects of these mascots demonstrate either direct negative effects on Native Americans or that these mascots activate, reflect, and are reinforcing stereotyping and prejudice among non-Native Americans. I have the link for that if anybody is interested in that. Also, the American Psychological Association has a similar review of research with the same recommendations. Many reputable Native American organizations support this research. Finally, I serve on the USD 409 Board of Education because I desire to ensure that our public schools are strong and serve our students and our families well. I want our schools to be excellent places for our children to grow and to learn in an environment which promotes inclusivity, compassion, and respect for all people. I will therefore be raising my hand to support a change in a mascot and the start of a new chapter in USD 409's history.
Any further discussion at this time? We have John? Dr. John?
If this is the time, I'll make a few comments.
Okay.
I think that to say this has been a long process for 409 is an understatement. I think we've certainly done our due diligence.
Yes.
I just can't thank Sean and Diane enough for their
Yes.
leadership and for their persistence in staying on this issue and bringing it back to us. I'm so amazed in our culture, both nationally and locally, on how this issue has evolved in, I think, a pretty short time, as Diane pointed out. I mean, the public awareness sessions we had 3 years ago versus in March here
Right.
were a remarkable switch.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's what they're for. They're to raise awareness to the board members, and what I saw was about 180-degree change from what I'd witnessed 3 years ago. And I think it's a reflection of national trends as outlined by Sean, but also what's been going on locally. I mean, you don't need to look very far as renaming streets and what we're doing. Now, a lot of people want to throw out the concept of cancel culture. And, I really think this has nothing to do with cancel culture. I think it has a lot to do with what I will say is an evolution of an inevitable process. I think even people of my generation and older that are diehard Redmen and always will be diehard Redmen have inherent, and I feel, conscience that this is the right move to make at this time. It is historic. It's a big deal. But I was so impressed with the people that spoke at our session in March. And, for those people that weren't there, I mean, I'm sorry. That's why we had a public meeting. We had a public forum, and everything I heard was it was time for a change.
Right.
And, I think we're hired and we're voted on to represent those sentiments of those individuals. And so, I didn't have to go very far than my own family, who are all 409 alumni, to get a moral compass on this, and it was uniform. So, I listened to that moral compass probably as much or more than anything as we come to this vote tonight. And the last thing I want to say is, when you look at our league acceptance or lack of league acceptance historically, and how much this is a factor, I don't know if we'll ever know, but I can't help but think it's a pretty big factor. Man, I've seen this before I was ever on the board for years. I've seen it since I've been on the board, and it continues to this day. I would love to hope that either through the CASHA process or whatever, we can finally get in a league. We need to be in a league. I think it's really important to our school district going forward, so we can have some consistency and uniformity, and so we can take the higher ground.
I agree.
And so tonight, as I vote, I'm going to tell you that I think we need to realize that this is a long view for history. I'll get blowback, and I'm ready for my friends to give me a hard time. It's all right. I can take it. That's why you get in this office. But, the long view is what we're doing tonight on this vote. And that's the long view, and that's what's important. And I really, again, I want to thank everyone and the new members. And, this is a tough vote for you guys. I mean, you may not be here in 2 or 3 years, but, that's, well, welcome to politics. I may not be your state representative in a year or two, so what the hell?
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate being able to make a few comments.
Thank you, Dr. John. My sentiments exactly. Is there anyone else? Without further ado, let's take a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. It passes unanimously. Next is our items for discussion and consideration, and it's the policy review, the first read, and my computer just quit again, so I don't know. There they go. Policies E, B, B, D through JHCAA, and again, Nicole Honeywell will visit with us about that.
So these policies actually do have revisions, and these are all taken from KASB. They have gone to our policy committee, which is comprised of board members, and nobody had any feedback in a negative way. So,
So everybody just take a look at those again, and we'll bring those back, bringing them back next month.
Perfect.
So, next on our items for discussion is the Central School next steps. And since we've, voted to close Central School at the end of 2021 school year, we need to discuss the next steps regarding the disposal of the building, so.
Yeah, and I've invited Larry to say a few words or to hop in here if I misspeak in any way. But the recommendation I would like the board to consider is that you would delegate to the superintendent and to our legal counsel the ability to proceed with offering the sale of Central School. And there would be guidelines for that, such as we would first do a request for bids. We will, of course, disclose our known physical issues with the building, which have been discussed publicly multiple times. There would be inspections, and all of this would be done with the board being very apprised of what is happening And then when we got to the point where people made bids, there would be some specifications. Larry, do you kind of want to jump in and share?
Renee and I spent a lot of time talking about the process and procedures. That's something we do. Last time we did this in the district is when we built the elementary school. We had to dispose of some buildings. So, but this is a complicated situation because you've got property. Those of you who've been involved in any kind of real estate purchase know that there are a lot of little things that you have to check to be sure you got them all right. So I think if we can work with Dr. Scott in putting together a package so we would make this building offer for sale and take offers and bring them all back to you for final acceptance or rejection. I want to clear that anything we do as far as an offer, you would retain the right to all bids. So if a bid come in, or a bid came in, an offer came in to purchase the property, you would have the right to reject that. We would do it further. So that's just generally it. And some of these times doing title searches and all that sort of stuff, we're not going to know all the specifics we have to accomplish, but at least get us started this way. Questions I can answer?
Is there any questions about that? Anyone?
Nope.
Okay, Larry, thank you so much. Next is the KASB legal action regarding the gas bill system. And again, I can't seem to get there, so
Okay,
I'll
I
just
can get there.
thank you so much.
Sure. So, as many of you are aware, February was by far not typical in terms of the long cold snap that happened. And as a result of that, natural gas is one of the few services that is not regulated, okay? And so when that cold snap hit, gas bills soared for a lot of businesses and entities, and USD 409 is no exception to that. We are with a consortium with KASB called K-Jump, and it's Symmetry Company in which we get our gas. And our bill was, and Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it was 6 times what it typically is, between 6 and 8 times higher than what it typically is. And KASB would like to employ some legal counsel to really dive into were the services that we received appropriately dispensed in the way that we're contracted to have those services? Was there gouging? It's essentially like asking a having a math teacher ask a student to show his work. All we're doing is asking Symmetry to go back and show us the process they used for their pricing. We have a couple of options. We could go ahead and pay our bill. We would most likely have to dig into contingency reserves to do that. It was a very high bill. Or we can go into the litigation with KASB, and they're just asking districts of different enrollment sizes to pay a pretty small fee. Ours would be $650 to be a part of that. I think it's well worth it. If anything, it's just to get answers to, is this going to happen every time we have a spell like this? Yes, Dr.
I
Oakley?
have a question, Madam President, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so my question is, I don't want to know the amount of the bill, but I want to know the percent increase from baseline, if you can give me a rough estimate. Well, how many percent? Was it 500 or 600%, or?
Yes.
Was it in that neighborhood, or how much was it?
Was it 800%, Lori?
800%.
800%.
From a normal
And
monthly,
that's
from a normal
normal-
monthly bill in February?
Correct.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there were, if you just even Google some of the districts who have had this discussion, it's pretty astronomical. I think, Lori, didn't you say that our bill is typically what we budget for in almost a whole year was 1 month's bill?
Yeah.
Madam President, I move that we join with KSB on the legal action regarding the cemetery
Yes.
gas bill.
Yes.
That's my motion.
Thank you, Sean, for the second. Any discussion, guys? I think it's a no-brainer. So let's take a vote and do that. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Yeah. So,
Can
Jeanette,
we go back to central school and make a motion as to what you guys want to do with that, taking bids, offers for that?
okay, where, see,
Could you
it's not coming.
perhaps maybe recommend that the board delegate to the superintendent and the board's council to proceed?
Yes. It is recommended that the board delegate delegate the superintendent and the board's legal counsel to proceed with offering Central School for sale pursuant to the following guidelines as presented, requests for bids and that.
I so move.
Thank you.
If we need a motion.
Second.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was the motion, second. Great. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Now we have it right. Thank you, Jeanette. Apologize for that. Next, we're going to enter into executive session, and Dr. John?
How long do we need?
20 minutes with Larry?
Okay, I'll give us another minute or two buffer then.
Sure.
So
7:30, yeah.
7:30.
Yeah.
So, Madam President, I move that the board recess into an executive session to discuss the following subjects: employees' employment performances, employment recommendations. The justification for this executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA. The open session will resume in the Board of Education Community Room at 7:30 p.m.
Yes, may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Let's roll. Larry?
Yeah. Mama cried. She's like, I'm just coming. I'm like, okay, I'll check. She's like that. I'm like, you need a report. Yeah, okay, good. I was hoping I put that in. Oh,
Yeah, Saturday was really decent, like we already had some of that Treasure Island area.
okay.
And
He had a sister who had 2 boys.
Really sad because
well, so we
Oh, I didn't know.
we did for it.
No, see,
Bad.
we went up after.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know.
No, I have not heard of it.
I don't know who they are. Okay, I can understand about. Yeah. Oh, big change. Yeah. I said, and spread out. Spread out.
But we want everything here, so we're gonna go to that party, so that we have an event next time.
Yeah.
But it's really about that, because then we're recording. And then for, so it's really part of it, it's all. Right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think really what, I'm not gonna lie, I did not do that, like,
help y'all out. It's like, let me give y'all a little bit extra. Let me help y'all out. Yes. That'd be good. So, yeah, it is.
oh.
Breathe. Change is not easy. You take that with you, Ryan. Frame it and put it on your wall. You want me to hold it? The day? No, I got one. I gotta do that one.
I think you
Shred it.
should copy it. I don't want you to do one.
I'll take pictures. Lindsay, I used to teach a self-efficacy class. You know what? Self-efficacy. So, when I worked at across the street, yeah, and I taught that welfare to work, we had a whole section on stuff.
Well, share the love, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Well, then please.
I think it's pride.
Because
No.
there's a lot of pride there.
See you tomorrow, Lindsay.
Oh, yeah, probably.
See ya.
Bye.
No more trees, okay? I'm not cutting down any more trees.
Bye. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, John.
What a caramel. Good catch. Did you see me almost drop it? Right. Yeah, I was scared. I was headed down the road. Right. Power, yeah, I'm not there yet. Yeah, I'm a long way off. Yes. I need to do that. Not trying to say, okay, Tara. Don't react. Don't react. Then I react. Lindsay knows the whole story. Lindsay takes these people under her wing. Which one? The one that just left today. Oh, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. It's great. I was kind of into her. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. It's great. It's great. Hey. Yeah. Just go to portal. Oh yeah. This should come back. You just don't even understand what you're asking for. That should be open. You connect our and it shouldn't be any. I love it. Any need for any passwords. If it does, just switch it to go to. All right, she's involved. I might be. We're involved in it. Please. Police. Her boyfriend is that. Does it work? It's not a good one to do into. Let her do it. I think we not send it till next week because there's 100% that's there. Oh, there you go. I will be no problem at this point. No, she can come next week. Next week, start next week. Alright, well, I'm the only one here that doesn't work on this. Max does it. That's Mama does. And she's working the work time worker. She don't get paid. Alright, I'm leaving. I'll send the servant work. Servant leadership. Bye, guys. I probably want to see you at the next board meeting. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. If I find that stuff, that takes stuff, I will. Yeah, do. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's the stuff she used to do with her.
My welfare to work women.
Yeah.
Okay, we interviewed her.
Yeah, welfare to work, that is, I think, in my life. I'm really passionate about that. Like, that's cool. I'm like, that's what I should be doing in my life instead of what I'm doing, so I have to figure that out. I'm the director of human resources, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. But because we were bound by the state and we had so many requirements and we couldn't, they tried to type the food stamps and we couldn't make it mandatory. I mean, there was all these other issues and. We just need to start earning. I know, I feel like I just need to start fresh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway.
But thank you for doing that.
I will send it your way. If I find it, I will. So many things. See ya.
See ya. So many.
Jeanette, I needed a buzzer to tell you to stop talking.
Oh, you're fine.
Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking.
So did that, everything that I sent you on that?
Yep, perfect. It was great. Thank you so much for setting that up.
I did just get a message from one of my committee members that said she doesn't feel that she can serve on it now that Liz here. I don't think I can be in the meeting with personally.
Yeah, maybe I'll
I'm not gonna replace her though. We have enough.
I'm wondering if we go ahead and just talk on CNA this week. Okay. Oh, look at these dark chocolate. Yeah. Marble.
Yeah, she has a job at the hospital.
I'm not giving this one to you, sorry, that's very We can cancel all of it and do this schedule today. Transfer. Transfer. Darn it, these dumb chocolates are great. I have no self-control today. Zero. I think it's the 14 months. Yeah, that is. He was a lot of it. I was like, I don't know you either. Yeah, you do. I walked out fast. So yeah. You walked out 20. You walked out 20 seconds. Yeah. Marion. Jason like shut the I had friends who invited. You did. Not bad actually. Really pretty good. Yes, that's right. Anyways.
I know you know how to do this. Would you take a picture of the whole school board as we're conducting business tonight, probably from this angle right here?
100%.
Thank you.
Pictures of conducting business.
Yeah, you can move that for sure. Do you want me to move that podium? And we are back in session right on time. I'm impressed. With that, we have action for our personnel. Does one of you guys want to read that, please?
Madam. Some resignations to present for your consideration tonight, for the board's consideration. The first is Jennifer Hayes, second grade teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Rachel Morgan, first grade teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Betsy Veerhoff, fifth grade teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Cheyenne Swanson, 9th through 12th grade chemistry physics teacher at Atchison High School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Nick Stillwell, 9th through 12th business teacher, Atchison High School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Again, Nicholas Stillwell in another capacity as distributive education DECA advisor, head track coach, head cross-country coach, assistant wrestling coach, Atchison High School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. And again, it lists Nick Stillwell a third time as Atchison wrestling coach, assistant, Atchison Middle School, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. And finally, Lisa Gearhart, registered nurse, Atchison Elementary School, effective 5/6/21.
Okay. I'd entertain a second, please. Thank you so much, Sean. Any discussion on those? We sure appreciate all the time the teachers have spent with us in USD 409. Thank you for your service to us. Any other comments? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. Next is our recommendations for employment.
Have several for you, Madam President, and the board to consider. First is Ann Pui, kindergarten teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21. Number 2 is Paxton Throne, first grade teacher at Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21. Number 3 is Bailey Funk, second grade teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21. Number 4 is Ashley Shearer, kindergarten teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21. Number 5 is Tanner Miss Pagel, elementary teacher, grade 2B determined, Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21. Number 6 is Julie Underwood, vocal music director, Atchison Middle and High Schools, effective 7/1/21. And number 8 is Misty Eads. No, that's number 7. I'm sorry. Misty Earls, rather, K through 5, library media specialist, Atchison Elementary School, effective 7/1/21.
Great. May I have a second for those, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sally. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you so much. Passes unanimously. And now our transfers.
One transfer, Jamie Tate, Madam President, from being transferred from 6th grade math teacher to 6th grade social studies teacher, effective July 1st of 2021.
May I have a second? Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Anything else, guys? If not,
It is hiring season.
yes,
So I just want to, that's huge.
This
If you
is
look
great.
at all those hires and.
those are great hires.
I looked online today and the applications are still rolling in, so what a blessing it is.
Yes, it is. What a good job, everyone, on that,
Good
on
hires,
those
too.
great hires. Oh, my goodness. So without anything else, I'd entertain a motion to end this meeting.
I so move.
And may I have a second? Thank you, Sean. All in favor, raise your right hand. Good night, everybody. Have a great evening.